Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
So Dillian Whyte, he appeared on the Sky Sports Toe to Toe podcast. Inevitably, of course, he was asked about the Alexander Povetkin situation, and he name-dropped Luis Ortiz and, ideally, Deontay Wilder as fights that he's willing to take in February while he waits for the Alexander Povetkin rematch. Now, first thing first, with Alexander Povetkin, this seems to be going on for the longest time, ever since the first fight, really, or even before the first fight. That the first fight is on, then it's postponed, then it's on, then it's postponed, and it kept changing all the time due to the whole virus situation. Eventually the fight happens, and with the rematch, what's happening? It's on, it's postponed, it's on. So there seems to be a bit of a repeat of history going on here. And Dillian, he's been in camp, let's be real now, pretty much non-stop for a year, because he's never quite been sure when is the fight on. Okay, so he's always been in camp. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I mean, for me, it's a good thing that he's keeping ticking over. It's a good thing that he's staying in shape. It's a good thing. But it's a bad thing because he's not getting to spend too much time with his family and his friends and everything, is he? Because obviously he's out there in Portugal. But that bit aside, with Alexander Povetkin, how serious is his illness? Well, quite clearly, it must have been quite serious because he was in hospital. The recovery period, I don't know. He's a professional athlete. Does that make a difference? Well, we're led to believe that it should, that if you're in good condition, you should be okay with it, okay? But different strains and all that kind of stuff. But right now, we have to go, okay, Povetkin, he's not going to be ready. Quite clearly, the illness has taken a bit more of a toll on Povetkin than maybe it does with a lot of people. It's what it is. Some people get much, much worse, right? Some people just don't recover whatsoever. Some people die, unfortunately. So what Dillian Whyte is saying here is he doesn't want Povetkin in the ring half-mast. He wants Povetkin at his best. He wants him fully recovered and at his best. That's what he wants. So in the meantime, as much as it annoys Dillian, of course, when it comes to Povetkin, what Dillian Whyte wants is he doesn't care about the money. He doesn't care about getting the interim world title back or anything like that. Those things are just bonuses. Of course, he wants them, but they're bonuses. The most important thing for him is to erase that loss, get revenge. That's what he wants. That's his priority, okay? So Povetkin will always be there for him, but he's willing to take a risk by fighting a Luis Ortiz or a Deontay Wilder. Now, I know that people, I've been seeing it on social media saying, but Dillian Whyte, he got knocked out by Alexander Povetkin. His punch resistance is going to be all off, this, that, and the other. For me, I think people who say that are exposing themselves a little bit. I'm not having a dig or anything, okay, but I think some people are exposing themselves a little bit when it comes to that kind of comment, because Dillian Whyte, he's been hurt more than that before. When Dillian Whyte fought Povetkin, one punch landed and he went down. About 15, 20 seconds later, he rose to his feet, okay? But it was a big punch, granted, but punch resistance or a depletion of it comes from a sustained beating and then maybe a knockout, a devastating punch and whatever else. Dillian Whyte has been through far worse in other fights. Far worse. I'll go back to the point where Dillian Whyte, he's lost 2 fights, both of them by stoppage, by Joshua, then Povetkin. Both of these guys landed the uppercut. So those who say that his punch resistance is going to be all off, and Deontay Wilder, that's the most dangerous fight that he could possibly have. How's he going to... Wilder's never thrown an uppercut in his life. Okay, so there's that one. But Dillian Whyte, he's been through much worse than the Povetkin fight. People, for some reason, only remember the stoppage. They don't remember up to that point where Dillian Whyte was bouncing him up and down off the canvas. But go back to the Josie Parker fight. He went through war. Go back to the first Derek Chisora fight. He went through war. Look at the Anthony Joshua fight. He went through war. It wasn't just the uppercut that ended it. He got beat up for like the last couple of rounds. A lot of it was because his shoulder went. When he buzzed Joshua in round number 2, he was swinging for the fence to try and take off Joshua's head. His shoulder popped again. Would it have made any difference in the outcome of the fight? I have no idea whatsoever. But the point is that when Joshua landed that punch, it wasn't just the punch that done it. Dillian Whyte got beat up for the past couple of rounds before that punch. So that's where punch resistance comes in. He got dropped by Oscar Rivas. But yet in the next fight, he was perfectly fine. When he got dropped by Joseph Parker after going through hell, his punch resistance was okay in the next fight. So punch resistance for me isn't about the one punch. So Povetkin landed that one punch. First and foremost, Dillian Whyte will know how he is because of the sparring that he'll be doing, okay? So for me, people talk about the punch resistance. Sorry, no, not at all. But that's not to say if Wilder lands a big punch, Dillian Whyte ain't going to go down and not going to get up. That could happen anyway. Wilder is a ferocious puncher. Wilder could knock out anybody in round number 1 or round number 12. So Dillian Whyte's punch resistance is no different. But for me, the point that I'm trying to make is it was the uppercut that made him lose against Povetkin and, of course, previously with Anthony Joshua. Wilder don't throw uppercuts. Both of these guys, much like all Dillian Whyte opponents, have to go through hell to get there. Can Wilder go through hell and then land a punch? Go back to the Tyson Fury rematch with Deontay Wilder. He got hit to the canvas with a left-hand jab to the stomach from Tyson Fury. That will tell you that his punch resistance is way off. It's way off. How do you hit the deck from a jab to the stomach? You can't. Sure, he was on the back foot, but the point is, Dillian Whyte, his tagline is body snatcher. He gets up close on Deontay Wilder and starts unloading on that body. Wilder, his ribs are going to crack. It's as simple as that. Yes, Wilder could end Dillian Whyte. Wilder could end anybody. But we've seen it. He doesn't like it on the back foot. He can't take pressure. And I've had Dillian Whyte on the channel several times. And each time that we speak about Wilder, he said this way before Tyson Fury done it. How you beat Wilder is you get him on the back foot. He can't fight on the back foot. He's a scared fighter. That's how you beat him. Tyson Fury proved it. Can Wilder go through moments of pure hell in order to land that punch? Unlikely, I would say. Unlikely. But it can happen. He did it with Luis Ortiz. For me, when you weigh up Luis Ortiz and Deontay Wilder, yes, okay, Wilder, he went through hell and then landed the punch against Luis Ortiz on both occasions. But for me, I think stylistically, the harder fight for Dillian Whyte is Luis Ortiz. First and foremost, he's a southpaw. Dillian Whyte, in fact, was it the last time or maybe the time before, I mentioned to Dillian about fighting Luis Ortiz, about the fact that he's southpaw. How do you get on with southpaws? He's like, that's a good question, actually. I don't think I've ever fought a southpaw. So that's going to create an interesting scenario in itself. How does Dillian Whyte get on with southpaws? Luis Ortiz is a very good boxer. He's heavy-handed in that as well. He does have decent knockout power. But again, with Luis Ortiz, has he really proven it? Who's he beaten? His best win is a Bryant Jennings, who in the fight beforehand got beat up by Vladimir Klitschko. That's his best win. And the only time he's really kind of stepped up, yes, he done well against Wilder, but he got knocked down on both occasions. So but listen, for me, I think that Luis Ortiz is the more tricky fight, to be honest with you. Wilder, very one-dimensional, but Wilder carries serious power. And yes, of course, he can stop Dillian Whyte. Of course he can. He can stop him round number 1 or at any point during that fight if he lands that punch. But in my opinion, for him to land that punch, he's going to have to go through hell. He's going to have to go through his own demons and that as well. He's probably carrying more demons with him right now than what Dillian Whyte is. That's my point with it. So people can say, but if Povetkin can stop Dillian Whyte, well, of course, Luis Ortiz can. Of course, Deontay Wilder can. Even without that stoppage from Povetkin, Ortiz and Wilder are both dangerous for Dillian. They're both dangerous for anybody if they land their big punch. So punch resistance, absolutely not. Got absolutely nothing to do with it whatsoever. Honestly, it doesn't. But either way, Dillian Whyte, he wants either one of those and then go fight Povetkin. It's a risk, but Dillian Whyte, that's what he does. He takes a risk. He's been doing it ever since he got the WBC silver title, all the way up to the interim title. He's been taking fights that he didn't need to take. He could have done what other people done. He could have done what Luis Ortiz has done his entire career, what Wilder's done his entire career, and just wait. Fight, gatekeepers, journeymen, that kind of thing, that kind of level all the way through. But again, Dillian Whyte, he's got wins over, for example, he's got wins over Derek Chisora twice. He's got a win over Joseph Parker. Would you guarantee me that Luis Ortiz could beat both Parker and Chisora? Would you put your house or your car on it? You wouldn't, would you? You really wouldn't. So again, let's be realistic. Sure, they could both beat Dillian Whyte. Of course they could. But Dillian Whyte could beat them too. And the Povetkin fight has zero bearing on it. None whatsoever. So for me, anyway, listen, that's my thoughts. You drop me yours. Drop a thumbs up. Click a thumbs up even. And I'll catch you all on the next video. Subscribe.